From the arena to the front office, this is Scoreboard. This episode is powered by Swyftx, Australia's top-rated crypto exchange and proudly homegrown.
Hi, it's Chris Titley here, and on today's episode of Scoreboard, the podcast, I'm joined by Katie Lynch from the Coast Suns AFLW team. Katie, thank you so much for being part of this series.
Thank you for having me, Chris. Appreciate it.
We're sitting here on Thursday, the 10th of July at 1:38pm in the afternoon. How's your Thursday been so far?
Pretty good, Chris. It's not bad waking up here on the Gold Coast on a sunny morning. So I just cruised down to Sunny Boy Cafe in Mermaid this morning.
A good shout out to them. Hello, Sunny Boy.
Little shout out to them. No, they treated me well down there. I just rode the bike down there and met our play development manager down there this morning. So I had a little meeting with her. And then I just came back home and potted around with the housemates a little bit and hung out. So so far so good, can't complain.
Excellent. And how's everything going leading into the 2025 season? I think it's starting you're starting your first game in Perth, I think it is.
Yeah, I think we might have a season opener, which is huge. I mean, don't quote me on that, but I assume a Thursday night game would be the first one.
Yep.
So that's very exciting. But the lead-in's been... It's been great. It's been relentless, though, I have to say. A lot of change going on with our team this year. So I think the girls have just been adjusting to that, but at the same time, very much taking it in their stride, which has been awesome. Heaps of positive change around the club. So that's been good. And then individually, I'm just dealing with a couple of injuries at the moment, but I'm getting on top of them now at the right time. So that's
awesome. Brilliant. And you speak of change. You're at the Gold Coast. You didn't start at the Gold Coast. You've only come to the Gold Coast last year, part of a 3-year deal. How did you find that transition to the coast, the coastal lifestyle?
It was interesting, I have to say. I was very much excited for the move, but I was probably a little bit naive into the fact that it was very different from Melbourne and what I'm used to. So to be honest, it probably took me about 12 months to settle in up here on the coast. But very much feeling like I've adjusted, probably less in assessment mode now that I've had 12 months here. But yeah, really enjoying it now.
What are the pros and cons against Melbourne?
Look, I think the obvious pros are the elements. They're generally a bit kinder up here. That's one that sticks out. But I think just there's a little bit less going on in general, right? So you're kind of forced to slow down, which is nice, great. But sometimes just being a Melbourne girl, I find myself like getting a bit itchy and wanting a little bit more. So
hurry up, people, hurry up.
Yeah, come on, like drive faster. Like what's going on?
And your love of football, AFL, where did that come from? You said you mentioned you're growing up in Melbourne, obviously the heart of AFL in Australia.
Totally, yeah. So I think you kind of just said it all. I grew up in a footy fanatic family. So my dad's pretty mad Carlton. Sadly so for him, he's mad Carlton.
Tough year for the boys so far.
Yeah, tough.
They got the Lions tonight, actually. You never know, but you just still never know.
Is it the Gabba?
No, it's not at the Gabba. It's I would be there if it was. But it's I don't know where it is. It might be Colonial. Is it? No,
right.
Not. Sorry, Marvel. It's Colonial.
Marvel.
What do I say? Marvel, of course. It's actually at Marvel.
I was wondering where Colonial was.
Yeah, that's right. I'm just rattling off old time sponsor names from the mid-90s.
Yeah, I was going to say they need to pay you for that.
Marvel Stadium, everyone. Tonight at 7:30, Carlton versus Brisbane. There you go. Yeah.
Okay, that'll be interesting. I might talk to Dad after that. Might not, we'll see.
Yes. So grew up in Melbourne, fanatical family. Yep. We digress for a bit. Yeah.
Yeah. Fanatical family. Can kind of remember having football in my hand from when I was maybe 5 years old. I've got a couple of memories of joining in my brother's Oz kick sessions when he would have been maybe 6 and I must have been about 4 or 5. So, I remember I kind of just did what he did. My brother is a left footer. I'm also a left footer. So, I think I kind of just picked everything up from the family environment.
And what was it about, or is it about AFL that you love and has, translated into a professional career?
Yeah, good question. Obviously, just it being part of my formative years is, an obvious kind of experience. But I think for me, the sense of community is probably what stands out for me. Coming through playing footy as a young girl, I was the only girl in the suburb who kind of played footy, to be honest. I was the only girl in the schoolyard kind of thing. But I don't ever really remember the people, all my peers kind of, and especially my teammates excluding me. So, I think that's quite a special part of football. And I've been lucky that was my experience early on.
And now looking at where the game has grown in terms of pathways and teams and developments, you said you were playing with the boys, etc. Now there's girls teams starting from local clubs starting under 13 girls teams, etc. It's fabulous. You sort of like go, pinch yourself for where it's come from, but also there's a long way to go, right?
100%. I think that's very much my mentality is, it's really important to reflect on the amazing positive change. And I can see it when I go back to my junior clubs in Melbourne, when I get invited back to do awards nights and stuff, and there's so many girls running around and, that is a bit of a pinch me moment. But you're quite right. Like, I think there's such a long way to go with our competition, as well as, continuing the participation rates. We know that girls still are dropping out at those late teens. And so, there's a few areas to still address within that. But, yeah, you're right. It is that balance of remaining kind of optimistic and, understanding the prosperity of it whilst also acknowledging the change.
And Katie, when did you realise that you were pretty good at AFL and that you were having fun? And I suppose like going, actually, I'm just going to keep going and see where it lands.
Another good one. Look, I always kind of was aware that I had talent, I guess. I was probably just like an internal feeling that, I felt like I understood the game and all of that. But it probably wasn't until I started getting invited to, I guess, talent programs was kind of the introduction into kind of like the high performance kind of space, even as a junior. So I think once you start having those conversations with key figures, in the AFL, I guess that's a little bit of a tap on the shoulder that you might be doing a few things right.
And in regards to high performance that you just touched on, then the level of like playing for fun and playing pretty good, and then rep teams, and then high performance. How have you transitioned into the high performance era? This is now a job. This is what you do, versus still remaining trying to have fun.
Yeah, I'm still learning every day with that. It probably comes back to your previous question of like acknowledging where it's been, and also trying to push for more in the female footy space. I think having fun and enjoying what I'm doing, and being around my friends, and that real social aspect you get from footy is super important to me. And blending that, I guess, with the high performance has been a challenge for me in the past. I think I'm definitely getting the hang of it now, especially as the competition evolves and we're moving towards this point of, elite performance in an elite sporting environment. But it is a balance, and I think finding what works for you in that realm is really important.
Do you reckon you found yourself a little bit more comfortable now that you've played 50 games, you've played a number of seasons in the AFLW, that you're going, this is good, I'm in the rhythm, as opposed to maybe early on in your career, you're like, I just need to prove myself a little bit?
Yeah, 100%. I think so. And I think, over time you generally gather a bit more competence, and, through learned experiences, you gain that confidence as well. So yeah, that's certainly an aspect. I look at my team now, and I have to remind myself, I think we've got 15 players under the age of 21, and I'm only 25. So sometimes I have to raise the eyebrows and go, okay, like I'm actually a senior player.
6 seasons? I can't. Yeah, that you played.
It's 7 years. Yeah,
7 years. Yeah, and you're 25. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So 100%. You kind of, where I'm positioned in this team, it's probably like a natural role to resume.
Yep. And going back to the early days and before you even played a game, the draft, do you remember that clearly when you were picked and your name was kind of in the mix and you're like, this is pretty awesome?
It's pretty cool. It's funny. Like, I feel like I reflect on that time and it's like a little bit of a blur. Like, I reckon I had my blinkers on the whole year. Like, I think I knew that, it was a step-by-step process for me, and I think it was never real until it happened, and I was never going to believe it until it happened. So, that whole draft year, I remember just kind of going through your natural steps, your under 18s, your metro, whatever it is. But you actually just never know until they really read your name out. So it's one of those like elative feelings, but you've also got this like, I remember feeling really relieved at the same time.
And then I think it took a couple of games, but you got on in round 3, I think, that year for your first ever game. Do you remember?
Yep.
Do you remember that first game? Or is it a blur, like you said? Yeah.
I remember parts of it, but it is blurry. I think, I remember bits and pieces, but not really, to be honest. Like, I think I was playing in the midfield and forward at that time, which is a little bit different.
Yeah, yep. I was going to get on to the next question, sorry, but while we're on this topic, is forwards or backs, your backs now, but you were positioned as a forward early on in your AFLW career. Have you always been a forward and then that happened, or have you always been a back and they kind of put you in the forward line?
I feel so. Growing up in juniors, I was everywhere. I'd played every position up in my juniors, probably just dependent on where the team wanted me at the time. But I drafted as an inside midfielder forward. But the interesting thing about this is I played netball all the way up until I was 18 as well, and I was primarily a defender. I was that GK GD, and so I think in my head, I think I knew deep down that I was naturally inclined to being a defender. And sort of once we kind of figured that out, settled back in there when I obviously made it to the Bulldogs. And I think, that's where I feel at home for sure.
And just touching on the Bulldogs, now you've been to 3 different clubs, and I'm not going to ask you, your favourite child, but there's some little discrepancies and little fun things that you had, and do you miss some of the girls as well that you used to play with, and obviously now at a different team?
Yeah, 100%. I still have a lot of close friends, particularly from the Bulldogs. So I think I was there from when I was 20 to 24. So, there's some important years, I think, when you're forming your identity and, socially, you kind of influence in that space. And, so I certainly have some really, really close friends who have come out from that environment, who I still talk to most days. I miss them a lot. And I think we had a really strong group at that team who were around similar age, a lot of similar personalities and beliefs. And it was probably one of the team's great strengths as well. So I certainly miss that down there, of course.
And what about when you match up against them? How do you go?
We have a bit of fun out there. I played them last year in a practice match, and I just remember talking to Alice Edmonds the entire time, just jibber-jabbering, chewing each other's ears off the whole time about probably everything and nothing at the same time. So I have a little bit of fun. I love those relationships that you can, still kind of see the irony and the humour in, playing against your best mates. So it's a beautiful part of the game, I think.
Katie, I'm also interested to know what goes through your head during a game. Does your mind sometimes drift off when the games are maybe a tad slower, or you're not involved and you might be thinking about things, or you always kind of switch on and just always thinking about the game during the game?
Yeah, I'm pretty game focused, to be honest. I can't remember many games where I've been totally distracted by external things. To be honest, I think I kind of have that that kind of wiring, I think, where I'm very task focused when something's important, and obviously to me in those 3 hours that's super important. And I can find myself, that sense of urgency kind of correlates and into this kind of direct focus. So generally, I would say I can remember a couple games where I was probably distracted with some external stuff, but generally speaking, I think I'm pretty engaged.
Do you get nervous?
Yeah, every game.
And how do you deal with that?
I have been tapping into the idea of nerves are actually the same physical presentation as it's just adrenaline. So if you can kind of reframe those nerves into energy or excitement in any way, generally that works pretty well for me. And it's actually just another energy source for me as well. And I'm just lucky that I actually get to exert it on the field. Yeah.
It's an interesting way of looking at it. I haven't really sort of thought about the sort of like, they talk about positive energy and using the nerves for positive energy, which I get, but also like, this is just normal. This is away we go, business as usual. I'm curious to know, I've been chatting to a lot of coaches and they talk about the roles within the team, and what makes a good team is knowing your role within the team. But you also have to train individually as a player to upskill your own self and your own position. How do you balance that?
It's a tough one. I think, it's, to be honest, from the coach's perspective, that's a really interesting one to think about. But I think from a player's perspective, being really clear on the team role is super important, and making sure you're adhering to that standard that's been set. But I think a lot of players, and especially early in their careers, probably forget that there's this large piece of self advocacy that they need to explore. So I think I'm still learning this, but I think I've definitely got a strong grasp on it now. But it's just figuring out what works for you, and also whether that's in terms of your strengths on field, as well as what might work for you recovery wise, how you enjoy spending your time off, what, for example, in leading into a game, what are you eating? Like, that's all really individual stuff, and there's actually no set standard as such. As a lot of nuance that I think players need to understand. So for me, it's just I tend to like to explore these things. So for example, this year I've been doing a lot of breath work in yin yoga, which I'm finding is really, really beneficial for me, which has been interesting, finding a lot of power in how important the breath is, and I can see myself translating it onto field and in training now. So down to a curiosity and exploration aspect, I think it's really important.
Oh, for sure, 100%. I'm a bit of a I was a bit of a snorer. I have a CPAP machine now and a nose breathe at night, and it's just made such a big difference of breathing through your nose. I'm curious about how you like the time of day that you love the most to play, because then you have to think about meals and you have to think about eating and all these things that goes with it, and sleep the night before or sleep during the day, etc. What's your favourite time of the day to play, and how do you manage that day?
I don't really enjoy waiting around to play a game. I find myself at times it's just a long time to not already play the game in your head. So if I can, like an afternoon game that kind of finishes at about twilight is probably ideal for me. Eating wise, that's pretty easy. You just got to nail your dinner the night before, breakfast, and then you're pretty much on your game day lead-in plan as well. So probably the Arvo game.
Yeah, the night game's a little bit trickier because you probably have to have an earlier lunch or later lunch, but not too filling, I suppose.
Not too filling, but then the part with the night games that I find frustrating is you can't sleep afterwards because you've got so much adrenaline, and you get home at 9:30, 10 later, probably 9:30, 10. And if you're a caffeine person, you've had some caffeine to get you through the game. Like, sleeping is really hard.
Are you a coffee person?
I am, yes.
How many do you do?
I'm 2 a day.
Same.
I might be a 3
Guilty?
if I was a night. Yeah, guilty but necessary, I would say.
Yeah, before midday?
Yep. They're
Yeah.
both before midday.
2 before midday. Every now and then you have an espresso martini, but that's at 4 o'clock on a Friday and there's no games involved.
Yes, and they're in the off season for me.
They're in the off season for you. Being a professional athlete is not a straight line of like glory and fame, etc. Because you talked about before you've had an injury and you've had a bit of a recurring injury. Do you want to talk about that and the mental side of things, the resilience that you're building up, but also the battles that you've had with injuries?
Yeah. I think out of my 7 years, 8 seasons, I think maybe 6 out of my 8 seasons I've dealt with one or multiple injuries in the preseason. So I'm pretty familiar with that side of the game. My most long-term and complex one was some Achilles issues that I was dealing with a couple years ago, which started in 2023. Essentially just had really complex Achilles tendonitis that I played through. But because I played through, it ended up having to have 7 months off running, which was obviously super tough. So there was that. But I think the complexity of the issue was that it was one of those ones where you kind of had to outsource and talk to experts. And, there was a lot of chefs in the kitchen trying to work out what was going on there. So, I think the mental side of that is just incredibly it's laborious, and I think for me finding ways to like duck and weave and reframe those injuries was probably the most challenging thing. I'm lucky that I've always utilized sports psychs as well as just psychs for my everyday life as well. And I've found that was just like pretty instrumental in keeping me pretty task focused, and as well as kind of regulating how I was feeling through those 7 months. Obviously, it's a really long time to not be able to do what you want to do. So, it's a tough. Injury's tough, and I just don't feel like you hear athletes talk about this all the time, but until you really go through something quite difficult, like it's a hard one to relate to.
I've had a number of athletes that I've spoken to that have used the tools of a sports psych. Do you want to share maybe some of the things that have helped you get through it? There's been some breathing things that I've come across in some of the exercises, the mindfulness, the gratefulness, etc. But is there some things that stick with you that you'd be willing to share?
Yeah, probably the system that kind of stood out to me was the just positive reframing in general. So a lot of my Achilles rehab was instead of saying to myself, "Oh, you've got to do this today for whatever reason," and you don't want to do it. It's flipping that to like, I'm actually one step closer to getting back to where I want to get back. And it's just like simple little reframings that you can do to your brain. The other one that I fell back on a little bit through that period was taking strength in the unique experience that I had. And a lot of the, I guess, dialogue in my own head was like, no one's probably going to go through what you're going through, but that's why you're going to come out great. And kind of finding that opportunity in a unique experience as well.
I'm also curious around this modern day and age. There's some, the feedback that you get from various people and comments that are made on social media and all that sort of stuff. Do you keep one eye on it? Does it affect you? Are you sort of an open social media type person?
Yeah, I'm not I don't usually go searching for that stuff on social media. I think a lot of that comes back for me is validating my own internal experience as opposed to what other people think. I know what's going on. I'm well aware of what's going on. And I think, generally speaking, sometimes you can get some ill-informed opinions come your way on social media. And I probably had a couple come my way last year, but I think, immediately kind of responding to that internally was probably my way with dealing with those. But it's not something I actively seek out.
And then footy as a whole, living and breathing footy, do you switch off? Do you kind of go, I don't want to talk about footy anymore? Or is it something ingrained in you? It's like, I don't care if I do talk about footy because I love it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind if I do talk about it, but I think I definitely... it depends what's going on, right? I think last year, I probably got to a point where I didn't really want to talk about footy because, we were in a really challenging position last year. And, I think getting my mind off that was probably good for me in a lot of ways. But I'm very much a feeling operator. I don't really mind too much, but in saying that, I really cherish switching off as well. So at the moment we've got, we're training, 3 full days a week, and I kind of get to the weekend and, there's not a heap of footy on my TV, I have to admit.
Right, okay, you don't keep it, they go, right, let's go. You're like, no, that'll do me. I've done 3 full days.
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm having my coffees in peace, thank you very much.
Yeah,
and from that, I'm going to ask you a few questions. It's sort of a yes or no type thing just on the basis of all this. I'm going to start with, actually it's a random one. Do you watch tennis or do you watch cricket or both?
Ooh, tennis.
Tennis is a must. Cricket's not a must.
Cricket, I'm not around the cricket, Chris. I don't know what it is. It's too slow. I just can't do it.
Okay.
I can't do it.
Okay, if you had to pick one, okay, here's a hefty pick one. Netflix or Spotify?
Ooh. Spotify. Just everyday user of Spotify. Maybe not an everyday user of Netflix, but I am a user.
Yeah, Spotify. What's your favourite podcast? This is a very trick question.
It is a very trick question. Look, it's a one called Scoreboard by Chris Titley.
Thank you. You have succeeded. You're going straight up to the charts. We're going viral because of that, right? No. Do you have a favourite podcast, by the way?
I've got a few. Yeah, I generally... the main ones I have in rotation are the Daily Oz. I listen to that most days. Big Talk, Small Talk is another one. That's a pop culture and politics kind of crossover there. I'm trying to think of anything else. They're probably the main two that are definitely on cycle most weeks.
New York or Paris?
New York.
Have you been to New York?
Yeah, I've been to both, yep.
Yeah. Nice. Excellent. Okay. Just maybe a little bit down. Brisbane or Adelaide?
I have to say Adelaide. The Fringe Festival is unreal. If you haven't been, I haven't been. Recommend that to anyone. So it's really fun. Really fun.
Yeah, and they've got Gather Round, and I've just had the tournament director, the Live Golf, coming on as well.
Yes.
Adelaide seems to be share price going up in terms of sporting events. Flat white or a latte?
Latte. It's got to be.
Yeah.
Got to be.
What's the difference?
I actually don't know. In my head, there's more milk in the flat white, but maybe I'm totally wrong.
So what do you mix it up tomorrow? Just go have a flat white. They go, what? Get out of town. You've ordered a latte here for the last year and you've changed it up. Oh, my goodness. And again, it's the same thing, don't worry.
Good. Okay, trick question again.
Apple or Google?
Google.
Are you an Android?
No. That's why I just caught myself there. I'm an Apple user.
Yeah. You're an Apple user.
But I was thinking search engine wise.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, Apple's got a less than moderate search engine that no one knows about, I think. Maybe I should have rephrased it. Apple iPhone or Google Android.
Yeah, there we go. There you go.
It's my fault. I'll get that. But yes, no, Apple's search engine, I'm unsure of of its existence. Now, I asked my guests about their scoreboard moment, which is a moment in their life which is very vivid. It's a sort of like a picture and you go, oh, I remember that moment. And from that moment, things changed.
Yeah, it's fun. So this one, this is a big one. So early in my career at Collingwood, in that first season, I remember having probably my first aware experience of anxiety. And I can vividly remember it was on the back of doing a hamstring injury in my first ever preseason. And I remember I had no idea what was going on in my body. I'd never felt something like that ever. Suddenly there was consequences of being injured that meant a lot to me, being in the system and high performance. And what that did to me mentally, hadn't ever experienced before. And I remember going to my mum and being like, Mum, I don't know what's going on. I'm like so sad. I'm so nervous all the time. I've got these feelings in my stomach that I can't work out. And I remember Mum obviously knowing what was going on. And she's like, you're anxious, Katie. And yeah, I think from then on, Mum kind of, and thank goodness for how much grace she had with me in that period, but she kind of referred me to a psychologist, and we, started that journey in that space when I was 18. So I think from it was just a big moment. I think anxiety is something I still experience, but that was probably like my first moment of it. Yeah, and it happened back when I was at Collingwood when I was 18.
Oh, it's so good that your mum and you recognise that and were able to seek help as well in terms of directing, living with it and dealing with it and managing it, etc. I'm just going to touch on that for a second. The people that have supported you, some friendship groups that may not care whether you win or lose at footy, but they care for you and they've supported you. You want to talk about them and how important that is, maybe after a game or maybe after a loss, etc., that they reach out to you.
Totally. I think about this one a lot, just having that fallback of friends and circles that exist for me. My favourite kind of illustration of that support is like, you can finish a game and you can get absolutely flogged and I might have literally played a really shit game, but my friends will always be like, that was so much fun. I loved watching you. The response is just you might be feeling so shit about everything that had just happened, but they couldn't care less. And I think that kind of, that's the true reflection of just support in general.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think there's a fair few, a sign of a good friend is maybe a text, not necessarily when you lose, but a text message when things aren't going your way, and maybe it breaks the circuit a little bit of footy, that it's not life or death, I suppose.
Totally. I think separating that it's just a game at the end of the day is I find quite a grounding thought for sure.
What about goal setting? You a goal setter?
Yes, I have been in the past, but it's funny, a lot of that's been ruined by injury.
Oh, so some variables that come in and go, hold on a second.
Yeah.
You can't get there because you're not on the field, maybe.
Yeah. So I remember a couple of years ago, I set a really distinct goal. And I think it was top 3 in the best and fairest or something like that. And I remember going into these sport, and I did this with the sports psych, and we mustered up this whole system and flow chart and whatever. And I remember we just got to the point where it was like, I know this is one of my Achilles seasons where I had to play through it, and we were just like, the goal's out the window. Like we
just like put a line through it.
Yeah, the line's through it. So I think I've had to like kind of goal setting. That's probably like the high end of goal setting for me. But I think in the last few years, goal setting's probably looked a little bit more different in terms of achieving little things, especially with rehab, have kind of been my kind of like covert goals that I've had for myself.
So just the little things. Are you a list person as well?
Probably not a list person, but I can often recognize within myself, and it's a lot of it's based on feeling whether I've achieved something. So I can achieve something on paper, but it's probably like not until I'm actually like feeling good about it until it's really like a tick off, if that makes sense.
And then the goals, are they footy related? Like, are they personal? Are they team? Are they individual? Like individual being like saying, I want to get on the field, and then when I get on the field, I want to play another 50 games, or I want to win a premiership, or.
Yeah, I mean, there's different kind of realms, right? I think, you got your personal ones and your team ones. I think, finals is an obvious one that, I kind of always have my eyes on that from a team perspective. But probably away from football is another good one that I probably haven't necessarily set goals, but I certainly have thoughts around, what I want to do with my personal development and ways that I can tap in with that. Whether that's, completing uni courses or, starting, me and my housemate were just talking about starting a term of pottery. So little things like that, little upskills like that are certainly like thoughts I have for sure.
Yeah, is there a little bit of an entrepreneur in you? Do you reckon you start your business later on in life?
Oh, you know what? I actually just completed a grad diploma of business, and I actually probably should never have started it. So the answer is no. I don't think I have that in me.
Nope.
No.
So you did finish it, you said?
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty impressive, something that may not be overly desirable to get, through.
Yeah, it is. And I did take a lot out of it. But it's just whether I use those skills for practice is the other question.
Okay, now we've got our favourite all-time sporting moment. Again, it stumps a few people because there might be you might involve yourself. It might not involve yourself. It might involve whatever. But Katie Lynch, I'm curious to know your favourite all-time sporting moment.
Favourite all-time sporting moment was Sam Kerr's goal in the recent World Cup in that game against England, which they lost, but that moment was definitely...
That was the semi, wasn't it? Because the quarter was against France at Brisbane, which was just like lost all the nails.
Yes.
Which is probably the greatest. And again, that's been a lot of people's favourite moment. It's one of my favourite sporting moments as well, is the shootout with Mackenzie Arnold.
That was crazy.
And I was actually at the Gabba watching the Lions play against Adelaide, and we left at three-quarter time because I'm like, oh no, I want to see the end of this game. But as we were leaving, we were in sort of a taxi on the way home going, it's still tied. And we got home to our neighbour's place with like 20 people hanging around this TV cheering, and it was extra time. So we actually got three-quarters of a live footy game and then watched extra time and then the shootout, which was just like one of the highlights. It was such a wonderful moment to see them progress to the semi-final.
It was an amazing moment. Are you a Lions fan? Did the Lions win?
Can't recall. It was all Matildas that night, so sorry, Lions. Okay. And they were both in Brisbane, and that's why I left early as well, because they were both in Brisbane and there was you had to beat the traffic, I suppose. No, I just want to get home and watch the game. Now, Scoreboard, we're in our 90-something episode now, and it's great to finally have a partner and a sponsor, and that's Swyftx. They're an Australian-based crypto platform, and as part of that partnership, we've introduced a new segment called The Bucket List, and it's powered by Swyftx, and the little catchphrase that they've just released now is called Where Can Crypto Take You? So the bucket list is a sporting event that you would love to attend to in person that you haven't attended to thus far, and it's on that bucket list. Katie Lynch, what's your bucket list sporting event?
think it would be, oh gosh, it's a great question. I'd love to go to a WNBA final.
Right, so Sandy Brodella was one of our guests. She was the coach of the New York Liberty.
Yes.
So they won this year in Game 5. That would have been unbelievable to be there. Anyway, yeah.
Well, yes, if you can send me Sandy's contact.
Yeah, sure.
Could, sort that out.
She ended up becoming so popular that she ended up becoming friends with Jason Sudeikis, Ted Lasso. So,
oh wow, there you go.
Because he was a Liberty fan, and they're like texting each other. I'm like, you text Ted Lasso?
Yeah, that's crazy. That's a pinch me moment.
The WNBA is in full swing at the moment.
Yeah, it is. I was watching a game yesterday. It was on the TV at training, and Sandy was on. It was the Liberty.
Are you a basketball fan?
A loose one, yeah. I watch a little bit of it here and there. I grew up playing it, but I think I just enjoy the contrast from what I do, small court, different movements, different plays. I just find that interesting to watch, to be honest.
Yeah, and there's we're going to have an action-packed new WNBL season coming. We've got some new ownership. I've interviewed Victoria Denholm and Jenny Seeger, the CEO. It's going to be exciting. Super can't wait for I think it's in October that the WNBL launches, and we had the Townsville Fire coach on yesterday, Shannon Seabohm, talking about the WNBL. I think watch this space in terms of the excitement level building around that. Been around for 45 years, but under a new ownership group, might see some excitement there. Now, I have one final question. That question is around a 15-year-old girl playing footy right now. Take yourself back 10 years or so, and now we're sitting in 2025. What's your advice to them that they want to go the pathway to be an AFLW player?
Yeah, that's a good one. I think my advice would be something around just, if you want to do it, you're probably going to get a lot of people talking to you about things, and you might get your scouts talking to you, and numerous people coming towards you with advice or kind of direction with things. But I think if you can stick on your path and kind of believe in the way that you're going about things, aside from what the outside's telling you, I think that'll hold you in good stead. I think just operating authentically in that chaos can take you a long way.
You did mention before, actually, a few too many chefs in the kitchen. Is that sort of on topic there?
A little bit, I think so. I think as athletes, inherently you seek feedback, and I think you want to extract all the information you can, and to help you in what you want to do. But I think if you can still sometimes you can lose yourself in pulling all this information from everywhere. So I think if you can kind of take things and blend them with who you are, and understanding that at the same time, that's really important.
Katie Lynch, it's been a delight having a chat to you today on Scoreboard. Thank you so much for being part of the series and sharing what life is like as an AFLW player, and also a little bit about your life. I wish you all the best for the upcoming season and also the Gold Coast Suns, and looking forward to following your progress and catching up. And thanks to our friends at Swyftx for powering Scoreboard. And as I said, look forward to the season and go get them.
Thank you, Chris. It's been a great chat, so I appreciate it.